Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. So hopefully this is going to be a relatively quick video on the two new event vehicles, the Tandem MAI and the T18E2. For those of you who don't know, I know there's for some reason some of you, these are the two early tier event vehicles that you can get in the World War II Chronicles events. And today I'm going to be giving you like a brief look on both of them, so it's not going to be the usual in-depth gameplay analysis. That's a really pretentious way of putting this, it's just gameplay. It's more going to be, these are the things that work, these are the things that don't, just so you can get a general idea of what you're in for if you're grinding for these vehicles. It's going to be like a little bit of looking in the hangar, just a little bit of looking at gameplay, but I'm going to keep it on the short side just so you know it's not going to take up too much of your day, especially if you are grinding the event today anyway. So, let's get into them. So, let's have a first look at the Tandem MAI 2.0 attacker, and with the standard loadout of the 4 rifle caliber 7.62s in the wings. Gets a turret at the back, pretty good turret considering there's no tail fin to stop the direct fire directly behind the plane. It gets 2 bomb drops of either 100 kilogram bombs or 50 kilogram bombs in an internal bomb bay here. I'm not really a fan of them, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Interesting thing about this aircraft though is the wings. Now this was actually, I believe, the first aircraft to have this particular structure made in the wings. It's the same structure that's used on the early Lag 3s, the I-16s and the SM-79s. It's sort of a lacquered plywood, and it makes the wings a lot stronger and a lot more tanky. This plane is actually quite good at taking damage. It's pretty much all wood, and you know it's pretty good for taking damage. I've actually survived quite a bit in this plane, but you know it is only rifle caliber guns that I'm getting hit by, so that's not really saying much anyway. So it's okay. I don't think it's a fantastic aircraft, but it's far from terrible, and it is quite fun. So I'll look at some little bits of gameplay. So I'm just going to have a little bit of gameplay on in the background with just some, I don't know, highlights or things happening, just to give you like a vague idea of how it flies for yourself. But from what I've found playing it, I haven't played a lot of games in it. I've played about 5 or 6, I think, and it turns very poorly. It climbs quite well, and it gains and loses speed very fast. It's very small, obviously, that you can see, and it does make hitting it quite difficult. I've found a lot of people tend to miss it if you're defensive flying, but it's not the best at turning and maneuvering. It's quite bricky. The best thing about it, for me anyway, is that the tail gunner is very effective, especially since you're mainly going to be flying against biplanes and things. And the way I think you should use this aircraft, if you are going to use it as well to take out other aircraft, is if you are in a defensive situation, the best thing to really do is try and outslow people. And that's a really stupid term, I know. But what you need to do really is just make lots of tight defensive maneuvers, and don't try and get behind them. All you really want to do is make them as slow as possible, and then, you know, pitch up, then level out, and then they will sit directly on your tail, and because of the range the gunner gets on the back, you can easily knock out their engine, and it makes it makes for quite an enjoyable kill, actually, I've found. But apart from that, it's pretty good at taking out ground units. It's the same as the SU-2, really. I actually think it's a slightly worse SU-2. The SU-2 is a bit faster, turns a bit better, and has a lot more versatility in its ordnance options. But this one is still really fun. I actually have a much better time. I actually played the SU-2 a little bit to get a comparison between the two aircraft as they are at the same BR and have practically the same role. I think it's not as good fundamentally as the SU-2, but it is a lot more fun. The real danger with this thing is if you are slow, as you know, it's going to be the same with pretty much all aircraft. It doesn't gain speed back too quickly if you're that slow, and if you are maneuvering, it does sort of tend to fall out of the sky a little bit. But apart from that, it's fun. I have enjoyed my time playing it, my short time playing it. It's not really very good in tank matches, as I think some of you are probably hoping that it might be, as it does only get 2 bomb drops of the two 50s or 2 100s. The negative that I find with that is that it's where the bomb bay is, and it's in the center of the aircraft, and with an aircraft like this it rolls quite a lot, and some of you might know, if you are trying to dive on a tank to bomb them and your bomb is centralized, if you're rolling a little bit the bomb will just fling off and miss them. I've noticed this as well, mainly on the Focke-Wulf, the F8, I think it is, with the 1,000 kg bomb. If you roll a little bit in the dive, which happens if the instructor just kind of does it, so the bomb will just fling off. And it is a bit more forgiving on the Focke-Wulf because you have a massive bomb, but with this, not so much. The bombs are quite, weak comparatively. I mean, you are bombing, lower tier, less armoured vehicles, but still it makes it quite difficult. It does get a bomb sight, a level bomb sight, and a dive bomb sight, I'm pretty sure. So it's versatile like that, but I don't think it's really that viable. It's alright if there's no SPA up to take out the other aircraft, because again, they're going to be slow and you can use a tail gunner. But apart from that, it's really nothing special performance-wise. It's fun, it's a cute little plane, it's tiny, but apart from that, in functionality, it's not really that impressive. If you don't have any Russian aircraft and you want to use it to grind, it's going to be pretty fun for that. You know, it can defend itself, it can take out aircraft, and it can take out a lot of lightly armoured targets as well. So I don't have really a rating for this yet because I haven't played it enough to really make a complete assumption. It's somewhere in the middle. Not terrible, not great, but it is a lot of fun and I think it is worth getting for. Now, the T18, I think this one is, well, I don't really think it will surprise people because it is really good. I've had a really fun time playing it so far. So, its speed, it might say 80 kilometers there, but I've barely passed 35 even on roads. It's really bad in snow, really bad on slight hills, but apart from that, the mobility generally is good. The actual way the hull turns is really fast and really efficient, and the armor is quite surprising. And on the hull, as you know, it's 50mm, a little bit less on the driver's hatches, 31 on the sides. But the thing is, the mantlet here is 50, and it's also double stacked. So you've got a pretty decent mantlet there. I mean, sure, they can hit the sides here, but most people probably aren't going to know that straight away, or probably won't even bother. So if you are hull down with this, you can actually survive quite well. And the other benefit is you have 5 crew members, and so you're going to lose the turret crew if you do get penned, but these 2 are going to live. So you can be able to back off and re-engage and things like that. I've also found that if you get shot through this bit here, as you can imagine, you will get one shot quite easily. But one weird tactic I found that's actually worked is if I'm angling my hull completely sideways like this, usually I'll get hit somewhere in the middle, but I haven't been one shot so far. I've lost either these 2 or these 2, but I've survived and I've actually gotten away in several situations, so it can be quite fun like that. I think this is actually a really good vehicle, especially with 3.0. It gets the same M1 cannon that's on the Su-57 in the Russian tree, the half track, so it gets smoke grenades as well. And this is the penetration you're going to be looking at. There's no real point using the AP as the performance isn't really that much different. The AP-HE is what you're going to want to use. It has the exact same reload statistics as the British 6-pounder, the British 57mm gun, which is really fantastic. I really enjoy this vehicle and I think you guys will too. So let's have a look at a little bit of gameplay I've got. So I played about, I think, 10 matches in the T18, or have done so far, and I've had more good games than I've had bad games. I had a few where I've died straight away, but that was just me being stupid. I had a fantastic game towards the end in this tank, and it's what I'm going to be using for the actual review. So I'll show a few highlights. This thing is very map dependent from what I've found. It will work quite well on, maps that aren't too hilly, as you can probably work out. It's not very good with hills or snow or anything like that, so the general mantra, I guess, that I found while playing it is that if there are roads, stick to them religiously, because you will slow down quite a lot if you're not on them. It's notably a lot faster on roads than it is on rough terrain. Well, again, as you can imagine, you don't need me to explain that to you. But it's something to keep in mind. If there are roads, stick to them, and the way I think this thing generally works quite well is if you can use roads, dips in the terrain to get yourself up to speed and put yourself in a good spot, so behind a hill, covering a cap point. If you can go hull down, do. It's okay at flanking, but its acceleration and reverse aren't really very quick, so you're not going to be able to get in and out of situations as quick as you might be able to in maybe the Puma, but it is still really decent when it gets up to speed on roads. It does cap out at about 35, as I said, but its mobility is far from bad. You know, it being wheeled, it can reverse, maneuver, all those kinds of things very efficiently. So it's good like that. The gun, I think, is where it really does stand out, though, in that you can one-shot pretty much anything from the side. You can pen pretty much everything, even at range. It's been really fun to use. I think people are going to really enjoy this one. The armor itself is something that's a bit weird in that you can't really rely on the armor. You know, 50mm at 3.0 isn't going to do too much. The turret you can, but it's not easy and it's not really reliable. So it's annoyingly got that kind of in between of it having armor, but the armor it has is not a good enough payoff for how slow it makes the tank. You know what I mean? Like, the armor it has isn't really going to stop any main caliber gun you're going to meet, and the payoff for how slow it makes the tank, the armored car, is not really worth it. It does stop autocannons at some ranges that, you know, other armor cars wouldn't survive, so it does have that. You can bounce if you're angled, especially on the turret. So it is fun. I think the armor is okay. You know, it's not great, it's okay. The gun is really where it stands out. And altogether, it's a good vehicle. It fits a place in the US tree. Using it as a 3.0 main tank, I guess, because the Americans, excuse me, don't have any other 3.0 tanks. So, you know, usually for a light tank, I'd say don't use it as your main tank in your lineup. Don't main your lineup around it. But with this one, you can do that because it does have it has most forms of versatility that other light tanks wouldn't. You know, it does have some armor, which means on some maps you can use it a bit more effectively. So it works like that. If not, it makes a really good support tank for your other lineups because, you know, it's a scout tank as well. It gets the scouting ability. It works really well in the support role, like, as well as that. So you are looking at a really fun, really dependable vehicle here, and if you are grinding this in the Chronicle events, you are really not going to be disappointed. So, hope you enjoyed that relatively quick look at the two new event vehicles. If you have any further questions about either of them, please put them in the comments below and I'll try and get back to you and answer them as quick as I can. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. The next videos should be on a proper, like, in-depth gameplay review on both of these vehicles. So I will see you next time for that one. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.